Each week, American History TV's American Artifacts visits museums and historic places. Next, we travel to Somerset County, Pennsylvania to visit the Flight 93 National Memorial and take a tour of the Visitor Center, which details the events of September 11, 2001. The memorial is the final resting place of 40 passengers and crew whose decisive actions prevented 4 al-Qaeda hijackers from crashing a United Airlines 757 into the likely target, the U.S. Capitol building.
Hi, I'm Adam Schaefer, and I'm a park ranger at Flight 93 National Memorial. Today we're going to be taking a look inside the Flight 93 Visitor Center, which was dedicated in September of 2015. We're currently standing out at the end of the flight path overlook. So we're standing on the shadow of the flight path that Flight 93 would have been on just before impact in the ground behind me. And the reason we're standing here is because this orientation for visitors is central to the design of the Visitor Center itself. The walls of the Visitor Center shield the visitor's view of the landscape around us here and the enormity of the landscape, and only frame the flight path as you approach the Visitor Center entrance. And so as you're coming off the parking lot, you have to walk the flight path that this plane was on just before it crashed. And the tall walls help to frame the last piece of sky that Flight 93 passes through before impact here. In 2002, Congress passes legislation and the President signs into law the Flight 93 National Memorial Act, designating Flight 93 National Memorial as a unit of the National Park System and the National Park Service. From that point forward, a Federal Advisory Commission was appointed to oversee a design, management plan for the site, as well as the boundary for this memorial. And so that was the beginning of the memorial that has taken shape around us. We're still not finished with the memorial. There's still a few missing components to the memorial landscape here that we're continuing to add on to. But the majority of the memorial came online this past year with the dedication of the Visitor Center, the Learning Center, and the walking trails that extend from this complex down to the crash site at the Memorial Plaza. The Memorial Plaza itself and the wall that bear the names of the passengers and crew is in white marble. And so we're looking down over top of that wall from the flight path. It's a continuation of the flight path just before the impact site and the crash site that we protect here. So let's take a walk inside. We'll take a look at the exhibit space that just opened in September of 2015.
There you go.
Flight 93 takes off at 8:42, and it's going to begin its gradual climb out of Newark airspace. And you can see they are barely into Ohio when the 4 terrorists that are on this plane are going to take control of Flight 93. They're going to incapacitate the first officer and the captain, Captain Dahl and First Officer Homer. And they're going to begin to turn Flight 93 around for a heading towards Washington, D.C. So the diagram that you see now depicts the change from the time of the hijacking from where the passengers and the crew would have been originally seated. And so you can see by the yellow blocks indicated on the diagram, the passengers and crew, wherever they were originally ticketed, they've gotten up from their seats and they've moved to the back of the aircraft. And these represent seats where phone calls or air phone calls would have been placed from on board the flight. So we know that there were 37 attempted phone calls. We learned that the passengers and crew took a vote from the back of the plane to do something, that they would not sit idly by and wait for something else to happen, that they themselves were going to take action on board Flight 93. And so that is best illustrated then in the center of this exhibit space, where you're actually viewing the information that has come back from the flight data recorder. So this is the first box that's recovered out of the ground here at the crash site of Flight 93 2 days after the crash. But it allows the visitor to basically see exactly how Flight 93 was flying in the final 6 minutes when they implement the plan. At the top, you'll see the cockpit voice recorder is, the narrative is across the top, so you can see in real time what is unfolding on the cockpit voice recorder in the front of the plane, where there's 4 microphones that capture the voices in and around the cockpit space. And that is paired up with how the plane is flying in these final moments. And as we approach 10:03, you're going to see the plane's going to actually come up on a 90-degree angle. The left wing is going to rise up. And as it does that, it's going to hold that for about a second, and then it's going to rock over onto its backside, and the plane's going to come down and crash at 10:03:11 here in the fields just beyond the walls of the visitor center. Flight 93 National Memorial represents a lot about what makes America a fantastic country, in that on September 11th, 2001, the people that were on board Flight 93 were everyday, ordinary people, citizens of the globe even. And it shows that you can make a difference, no matter how big or how small, and no matter where you're at. And in a very short period of time, too. It shows human nature at its best and at its worst moments together. It shows that everyday people can come together for the betterment of humanity. And what you see illustrated here is people not sitting by and watching, but actively becoming involved citizens in an event that unfolded to them. In a sense, the passengers and crew of Flight 93 were living in a post-September 11th world long before any of us knew what that was. They were living it in the skies overhead. And it's important for us to take the lessons of the people on board this plane and what they were able to do in such a short period of time. I often tell students that are coming here, think about how you utilize 30 to 35 minutes out of your everyday life and what you can do with that time. Maybe you can repurpose that time, even if it's something as simple as helping somebody carry their groceries in from the car, or picking up garbage. It's often a challenge to the visitors that come here. It's a chance for self-examination, and I think a lot of visitors ask themselves, would they be able to do this themselves if they were put in the position? And I think it's a question that nobody can answer unless if they're faced with the same set of situation, but it's one that people often ask themselves when they're here.